All right, good morning, everybody, and happy Thanksgiving Eve. Tomorrow's the big turkey day, and we're going to talk a little bit this morning about the habit of the left to politicize and propagandize family gatherings, beginning with Pajama Boy and moving forward. So buckle in. I hope you got a good hot cup of coffee, and we will be with you in just a moment. And good morning. Good morning. I see Fish and Golf has first blood this morning, and I can't see much of anything. Let me apologize for that. I should have polished my glasses before we got started, because I got to read stuff off the screen to you this morning. Uncle Steve's with us, and my mother-in-law, Patricia Barrett, is with us this morning. Morning. Good to see you guys. So, here's what I want to talk about. You know, every year, the Brushfire Mind has done a special episode on the morning of Thanksgiving. So we will be with you tomorrow morning to do an episode where we'll be talking about what we're grateful for, what we're thankful for, and the things, you know, some of that's going to be stories about things we've accomplished this year, things that have gone well this year. But that's for Thanksgiving Day. Today is the morning before. Good morning, Sergeant Major. Sergeant Major says, good morning, my coffee is lawsuit hot, and there is a deer across the pond, which is safe because I'm on double fishing and hunting restriction. So, okay. I'm going to give y'all a little behind the scenes here. When Sergeant Major, that'd be Jim Lowry, when His Majesty says that he is on double fishing and hunting restriction, what he means is that he has so efficiently terrorized the wildlife of his region that the freezers, I believe there are 4 of them, are full. And my mother has told him, sit down, old man, you're done. And we take mother's threats very seriously. There was a period where shortly after getting out of the Army, the wife and I were living with mom and dad for a while, and one day Dad bitched about the carrots because there was too much sugar in the carrots. They were too sweet. And in fairness, In fairness, his complaint was a health complaint, right? Because all of us were trying to lose a little weight. I myself am type 2 diabetic, and if I remember correctly, this is before I was diagnosed, but still, Dad was attempting to express a health concern, and he should have kept his damn mouth shut because Mom went on kitchen strike for 2 weeks, and it was nightmare fuel. Y'all don't understand. My mama growed up in Georgia. My mama growed up in Georgia learning to cook from people who growed up in Georgia, learning to cook from people who growed up in Georgia. Right? We have the kind of family, friends, and relations where we once had an encounter with I'll say a friend for the sake of this story, contacted my wife one morning in a near panic. I'm out of bacon grease. What do I cook the eggs in? Oh, honey. It's like now, I picked my lovely young wife, my hot young wife, I picked her up on the left coast. So she has a little more breadth of experience and understands and was able to explain to this poor wayward child that, in fact, eggs can be cooked in other things like butter or olive oil. And St. Michael asks, does that mean you grow up eating a lot of peaches and onions? Hell yes. In fact, as soon as possible, I am moving to the country, and I'm going to eat me a lot of peaches. In fact, I will take a nap where the roots all twist and squish a rotten peach in my fist and dream about you, a woman. So I hope a few of you got that reference. So, wow, that is quite a detour that I have taken this morning. Here's what I want to get you ready for. Tomorrow, you'll be gathered with the family. And make no mistake, the liberals in your family have been told, they've been gearing up, they've been preparing for this moment, where they will have you as a captive audience, and they will attempt to abuse your tender sensibilities. They will attempt to propagandize you. Now I want you to remember, think back to Pajama Boy. Remember Pajama Boy? When Obamacare was on the rise, before we started to slip so deeply into socialism, there was the Pajama Boy campaign. And a big part of that campaign was the Obama administration using taxpayer money to promote a campaign of people talking to their families about the value of socialized medicine. He tried to convince Americans, and did successfully to a large degree, that they should be talking about politics at the dinner table, that they should be shaming opponents of socialized medicine into getting on board and supporting that psychotic policy maneuver, which I will add has been even more destructive than the most virulent doomsayers of the fallout could have predicted. When I was first talking about Obamacare as it was coming up, and when we did the early shows about it, our predictions, and remember at the time, Cameron and I were licensed insurance brokers, right? This wasn't something that we simply understood because we did the deeper analysis. We were actively involved in the industry. And our expectation was that it would cause the premiums and the costs to double, maybe triple. But the prices went up through the roof far beyond that. When you hear liberals now talking about the work they're doing to make insulin more affordable for diabetics, let me remind you, they caused that massive spike in price themselves. When you hear Biden talking about creating new policies and new laws to allow Medicare and Medicaid to negotiate with insurance companies and pharmaceutical companies over the prices of drugs, what he's doing is he's not allowing them to negotiate prices. What he's doing is he's coercing those systems, those companies, to accept massive government subsidy on products which are then devalued to create the illusion of affordability while forcing the prices to be raised on anybody who's not getting it through a government supply channel. They are intentionally sabotaging the health insurance industry and the health industry to cause prices to force you into a government health channel. It's horrifying. And they're going to continue to push that. So, slight side note, Javier Milei was just elected as president. Oh shit, where was he? Now I forget. Let me double check myself real quick before I get it wrong. Okay. I was about to say Argentina, and then I was like, wait a minute, was it Argentina or Venezuela? Javier Milei is now the president of Argentina, or was just elected. I don't know what the inauguration process there looks like, and is quoted as saying, "Don't get caught up in the terrible concept that where there is a need, there is a right." That is brilliantly well phrased. One of the arguments that we've constantly made with regard to the healthcare question, when you hear somebody say that healthcare is a right, yeah, okay, granted. I accept that. You have a right to access healthcare, which is to say that in the spirit of constitutionally protected rights, no entity should be allowed to prevent you from accessing health care. That's fair. That seems perfectly reasonable. Just like no entity should have the authority or the power to prevent me from accessing a firearm, right? I have the right to keep and bear arms. Well, as an enshrined right, that means that you can't stop me from buying a gun and wearing it on my hip for my protection and for the protection of those around me. That's not an option for you. But the argument that the left makes on that is that the fact that you have a right to access health care is the same as saying that health care must be provided to you no matter what. That's an argument for slavery. That is an argument for forced labor. That is an argument that the fruit of another person's endeavor should be confiscated with violence and threat of force, up to and including death, to produce the benefit of a potentiality secured through the right of access to a service. Now, I can make the argument that everybody has the right to use teleportation for foreign travel. And I could make a brilliantly compelling argument to that fact. I could convince everybody in the world that that statement was true. Let me ask you this. If there's no such thing as teleportation for the purpose of foreign travel, how is it provided? It's not. It's that simple. If you destroy the healthcare industry by attempting to give everybody not just access, but acquisition, then the industry no longer exists. and your right to access it becomes irrelevant. Sergeant Major points out, and we still have a shortage of doctors. I want to correct that statement by going a little further with it. The shortage of doctors has increased as a result, and directly as a result, according to their own statements. Now, this tweet, I've got a lot of tweets pulled up that we'll dig through as many of them as we can get through this morning. This tweet is the one that actually convinced me to do this show this morning. From George Takei, who, you know, I love me some Star Trek. I might say I love Star Trek as much as the next guy, but of course Cameron can quote it, you know, Cameron could quote a section and verse. But George Takei says, as you contemplate going home for the holidays, especially if you have any vocal MAGA relations, remember this coping strategy. Hear everything they say for what it is. From a brainwashed cult of millions who have been misled and manipulated. Do not attempt to deprogram, or you become just another enemy. Listen with patience and try to find common things you both enjoy to talk about. Remind them of your humanity and do things that let them remind you of theirs. This is how love ultimately prevails. This guy, oh my God. There's a lot here. Remember this coping strategy. He thinks you need coping strategies because you have family members that you disagree with. You might encounter such evil and nasty thoughts as, don't let children read pornography. Don't kill children. Don't mutilate children. Don't tax me unnecessarily. Or, if I had my way at all, because taxation is theft. You might be told that liberty is preferable to security. Whatever are we to do? And then goes on to say, hear everything they say for what it is. From a brainwashed cult of millions who have been misled and manipulated. There's a great response to this. Which apparently has, I thought I'd lost it. I thought it had escaped. This is the correct answer to that tirade. This person with the BLM communist resistance fist and the rainbow mask, wearing a mask with the tattoos of all the woke brands and the Biden-Harris. This person thinks that you are the one who's in a cult. And then he goes to this line, remind them of your humanity and do things that let them remind you of theirs. So he starts off, he up here, he's got this language here, deprogram. That is straight from the Chinese Communist Handbook, talking about the olds and the news. Deprogramming. But he talks about deprogramming. You know, it wasn't that long ago. You want to talk about deprogramming? Elon Musk bought Twitter just over a year ago. And until that day, for some time, you could have your account permanently removed from Twitter for making the statement. Get ready for it. This is root. This is deep foundational hate speech that I'm about to spew here. You could be thrown off of Twitter for making the statement. Are you ready? Women are not men. I shit you not. And I know you know this. But it's worth repeating. Sergeant Major mentions the re-education camps. Not only are those okay, that's a great one, actually. There are lefties right now. Let me see if I think I've actually got this one pulled up. It was, I don't have it pulled up. It was, I think it was Jake Tapper went on this tirade, either yesterday or the day before, went on this tirade about how if Trump gets elected, he's gonna put Democrats in camps and execute them. Like he said that it almost sounded like he actually believes that if Donald Trump is elected, we're just going to round up everybody with a rainbow flag or a black power fist or a pro-Hamas logo on their social trends. We're just going to round them up and execute them. What? Based on what historical pattern? Right? Barack Obama prosecuted more whistleblowers, journalists than any other president ever. And Trump's the one you're worried about? There are currently 2 major lawsuits in progress. Right? Elon Musk's thermonuclear lawsuit against Media Matters, and Donald Trump just filed a serious defamation lawsuit against 20 different media companies for defamation related to a false report, a fake news false report about the losses of Truth Social. Now, the fact is, in that case, the fact is Truth Social did lose some money, but the 20 news outlets reported that they lost some 3 times as much as what the actual reports say. And that's a big deal. I'm not going to get into that one too much right now. That'll probably be a topic for next week, but that's ongoing. Right? So not only do we have the history of Barack Obama incarcerating and prosecuting more whistleblowers and journalists than any other president in history, we have right now these lawsuits which allege, with substantial evidence, that the federal government has been in collusion with various media organizations and social media systems to commit crimes against the citizenry of the United States of America. And the concern from Jake Tapper is that if Donald Trump gets elected, that there will be the mass prosecution and incarceration of just citizens who disagree, when the evidence is clearly to the contrary. And then to the re-education camps, not only has that been the habit, China, Russia, and, oh yeah, fucking Germany, not only has that been the habit of far-left socialist organizations historically and repeatedly, but we had leaked conversations from Bernie Sanders staffers when he was running for president, both times, where they were actively discussing what it would take to get Bernie to institute gulags for conservatives upon his election. So it's not only a historical habit of the left, but it is a current wet dream of the left that they pursue constantly, that they still discuss. Wow, I might need some help. I've gotten dark lately, gotten intense, and stopped being as funny as I used to be. I'd like to be funny again. Oh, but you know, part of the problem is it's hard to be funny when this is part of the conversation. Joe Biden tweeted, I wanted to cover this one too. Joe Biden tweeted, both Putin and Hamas are fighting to wipe a neighboring democracy off the map. America cannot and will not let that happen for our own national security interests and for the good of the entire world. You know what, Joe? That sounds great. The communists and the Muslims are trying to wipe a democracy off the map. And America cannot and will not let that happen. Joe, that sounds awesome. But, let me remind you, and I tweeted this so that it'd be ready for this. We won't let that happen, Joe. We won't let that happen. Joe, you are directly funding it with our tax dollars. Okay? From Politico. Biden announces $100 million in humanitarian aid to Gaza and the West Bank. The U.S. will send $100 million in aid for humanitarian assistance to civilians in Gaza and the West Bank, President Joe Biden said on Wednesday. This is an old saw from the Democrat playbook. I've talked about it with the cash for work programs in Afghanistan. You create a situation where it appears that the U.S. is spending tax money to inject capital into a local community, knowing that that money is going directly to fund terrorism. The Democrats do this on purpose. If you ever had any doubt that the explicit intent of Democrat funding ending up in the hands of terrorists was for that to happen, right? We can go back to Hamlin's razor, never attribute to malice what can be explained by incompetence. And Lowry's retort is always sufficiently repeated acts of evil can no longer be explained by incompetence. When someone continues to get the same bad result, there's a point at which you have to understand that that's the intent. It's not that they're incompetent. It's not that they're not getting what they want. It's that whatever it is they say they want is a lie. And it's a hard line to balance on. It really is. Because it is possible for someone to just be that stupid that they keep hitting their thumb with the hammer. It is possible for somebody to continue to make the same mistake. But when you have organizations of people who otherwise appear to be intelligent continue to make the same predictable mistake against the advice of their peers and betters, then you cannot reasonably attribute that mistake to incompetence. It's no longer possible. It's no longer reasonable or rational. Ergo, Joe Biden, with U.S. tax dollars, is actively and intentionally funding Hamas. Now, Donald Trump was probably the most philo-Semitic president we've ever had, moving the capital, recognizing Israeli sovereignty, and all the stuff that he did for the Jews. And now you've got Joe Biden, who's literally using American tax money to fund an organization whose expressed purpose is the extermination of the Jews. I think I've been pretty clear. I don't really care what happens between Israel and Palestine. Frankly, that's a problem over there. But I'm amused that we went from Trump is Hitler and all Republicans are Nazis, right? The Democrats telling us that Trump is Hitler and all Republicans are Nazis, to the Democrats saying we stand with the people who are working to exterminate the Jews. That make no mistake, the same people that want you to abort and mutilate your children are currently taking your money at gunpoint to fund Muslim extremists in the stated objective of exterminating the Jews. That is the political reality in America today. Oh, so let's see. Oh, okay. I'm going to close on this one. Joe Biden says, Donald Trump is running for president, bragging about how he killed Roe v. Wade. Let's be clear. The only reason this is psychotic, fundamental right has been stripped away from the American people for the first time in American history is because of Trump. Okay, for starters, this whole chain right here, the only reason a fundamental right has been stripped away from the American people for the first time, I'm sorry, Joe, this is the first time in history that a fundamental human right, a fundamental right has been stripped away from the American people. For the first time? I'm sorry. Did you miss the Federal Firearms Act? Did that just escape you? That was the existence, the creation of the Federal Firearms Act. That was a stripping of the fundamental right to keep and bear arms. Oh, how about the establishment of the Internal Revenue Service and the implementation of an income tax, both of which, by the way, were explicitly forbidden by the Constitution until it was amended in 1913 to allow the violent and coercive taking of private property from private citizens by the federal government. That, Joe, was a stripping of fundamental rights from the American people. So even if I were so callous and hateful as to ascend to your claim that the murdering of unborn children is a fundamental right, the idea that it's the first time in American history that that a right has been stripped from the people by its vulgar and corrupted government is asinine. And for you to claim differently illustrates only that you are either a fool, an idiot, or a liar. And likely, we are talking about Joe Biden, and the evidence is pretty clear on this, all three. But again, I replied to this one. I said, it is difficult to imagine a more ringing endorsement of @real Donald Trump than the president of the United States saying that Trump protects children and Joe Biden will actively work to have them murdered. That is his claim. That is his claim. Is that under Donald Trump, we made a move to protect children from the ravages of the anti-child party. Right? And I say that advisedly. The Democrat Party pushes these narratives. You should wait until later to have children. You should wait until you're ready. Right? You should kill them if you're not ready. And if you do have them, you should mutilate their genitalia and transform them into an unrecognizable monster, which is likely to kill itself before it has enjoyed a full and vibrant life, most especially one which might, because once you've mutilated those genitalia, it cannot include children. That's the party on the other side there. Right? It's the party of the dink, the dual income, no kids party. Now, I'm gonna close on this. Still part of the same piece of conversation. Tim Pool does a pretty good job. Has a pretty good show. And he has a girlfriend apparently. We don't know much about. I'd love to see her come on the show and meet the girl that's with Tim Pool. That'd be fun. And Tom McDonald, who's a white boy rapper. Tom McDonald does some pretty good work. His girlfriend, Nova Rockefeller, makes his videos. She does a hell of a good job. Right? Now, I'm not sure how old Tom is. I think he's almost 30, right around 30. And Tim is 36 or 37. He's about the same age as my wife. But yeah, so Tim is about the same age as my hot young wife. And good for him. But I want you guys to spam their comments. They need babies. They need to have babies. Tim, and I'm on this now. Okay, so I think Tom and Nova have been together I know they've been together for at least 5 years. I think it's been longer than that. I think they've been together for quite a while. Lock it down, boys. Get married, make babies. Now, this isn't just good people need to reproduce thing. My father told me when I was probably 19 or 20 that if I wait until I'm ready to have children, that I'll never be ready. If I try to wait until I'm ready to have children, then I'll never be ready. Holy shit. Is that a revelation? And I'm here to tell you 100% true. So my wife and I, we were together for about a year before we got married. And then we were married for a little over a year before we very consciously and with a plan decided to have our first kid. And when we made that decision, we were ready. Now, we hadn't so much put it off to make sure we were ready to have a kid. Part of that decision was, the first year, it was, let's be newlyweds. Let's enjoy ourselves together. Let's have some time. And we were in Hawaii. We were living in Hawaii, and there was a lot to do. And we were both full-time employed and busy as a squirrel trying to shit a pineapple. There were a lot of reasons other than the idea that we're just not ready to have a kid. In fact, for that whole first year, we even had a few discussions. We were very clearly quite ready to have a kid. Plenty of income, good living situation, good jobs, everything was right. And then I got notice that I wasn't going to be deployed to combat because of a certain position that I held. And the expectation was that I was going to be riding a desk for at least a couple of years. And we had the discussion, and okay, you know what? This is it. It's time. Let's do this. And we did. And we got pregnant. Our first kid. 6 months into the pregnancy, give or take, my command came to me and said, Lowry, and you'll have to forgive me if I get a little misty, came to me and said, Lowry, we know you got a kid on the way. And frankly, we've discussed it with the leadership, and our unit is going to be deployed. This one is optional for you. And it wasn't just the Army saying, hey, you know what, we want you to be with your family. That was part of it. My command was fucking awesome. But in all fairness, another part of it was there were a couple of other overseas missions that I was wanted for, and they were kind of arguing over where I was going to go. And I could have chosen one of the other missions and only been gone for 3 months or only been gone for 6 months instead of being gone for a full year in Afghanistan. And they would have been safer missions. But First Sergeant Doucette and Captain Fry came to me, and they were very clear that you don't have to do this, but we want and need you to come and help take care of your soldiers. And I had to have that conversation with my wife, and she said, "No, I got this." She said, "I got this. You go take care of your boys." And so at that time, we thought we were ready, and we were. And it worked out, and it did work out. But the point is, if you wait until you're ready, you won't be. So, Tim, you're getting old, brother. You're getting old. You need to get your shit together and get them babies made. Because you're already going to be nearly in your 60s before you can buy your boy a cold drink. Right? I mean, I was 39 when we had our fourth. So I'm going to be an old man when Eleanor is getting married and having kids and, you know, graduating from college if I can't talk her out of it, for example. That's shit worth understanding. And understand this comes from a place of love when I say, you know, Tim, Tom, stop fucking around. Babies matter. And more importantly, they're worth being grateful for. So, y'all be safe out there. Get ready to have the family over. And remember, if you haven't pulled your turkey out to thaw yet, you fucked up. It's too late. Just give it up. You go get you a honey baked ham and call it a day. We love you, and we will see you tomorrow.